am Sara Weiss of Passion and Pickleball. Welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV, channels 249, 250, and 251. You can download the Zingo TV app on iOS and Android devices. Don't forget to rate and leave a comment. This app is free and is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku, and Roku sticks, as well as all smart TVs 2016 and beyond. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's so good to be here. I love doing this episode so much that even the intro music, I'm sitting here as I'm waiting, I'm like bobbing my head, loving this intro music. I just find myself so lit up. I love to serve. And today I want to serve a little bit before we introduce our guest. I want to give you some 3 obvious and 3 not so obvious tips on how to become a better pickleball player quickly. So the 3 obvious ones, most of you are going to have heard this either from me or from other instructors, and the instructor that I have coming on later will also agree that one of the biggest ones is to hire an instructor. A lot of people understand the power of practice, but a lot also don't understand of proper practice. Practicing the wrong thing over and over and over is going to get you to a plateau level. But if you practice the proper drills, proper skills, you'll be able to continue your rise to the top, of course. Number 2 would be to drill and drill and drill. It's not just about the games. Games are fun, and that's kind of what playing the sport is about. But if you want to get better faster, you're going to want to drill over and over and over again. Number 3 would be to master the fundamentals. It's not just about all the pretty shots, the Ernies, the ATPs, those, though I love them so much. You're going to want to master how to do a proper backhand cross-court dink, how to drop shot on the 3rd shot. You're going to want to master doing a drive, returning the serve, and the serve. The fundamentals in this sport are what are keeping you in the high percentage plays so that you can keep the play going long enough for your opponents to make a mistake. So obviously, you want to get good at those fundamentals. Now, the 3 not so obvious things that helped me get good at this sport really fast are as follows. Number 1, add more tools to your tool belt. When you see other players doing things that you've never done before, take a look at what they're doing. Even ask them about it. Some of the slicey moves, all the fancy things that you might like to see, add the tool to your belt. Now, I'm not saying replace your fundamentals with that. I'm saying add to it. So something that I did is I used to see this one guy, his slice return of serve was so beautiful, and it floated, and then it caused mischief for anyone who was returning it. So I actually asked him after I, experienced losing to him many times, could you give me a second of your time and show me what you're doing? And I added that. And every time I added a new shot, new skill, new movement to my tool belt, I became much more diverse as a player. And I had more tools to use in different scenarios and situations, which helped me be a more well-rounded player. And I continue to do so. So add more tools. Number 2 would be watch the pros. Watch the pros, but not only watch them, see yourself as you see them. This is a big mental voodoo mind game trick, but it also teaches you how to follow good form. One thing that I really noticed when I used to watch the pros in the beginning was how composed and calm they were when they hit their shots. They're not jerking around. They're not freaking out. They're very calm, very composed, and everything looks very fluid and smooth. So I used to close my eyes and see myself calm and composed at the net. No matter how fast the ball's coming at me, I'm there and I'm calm. I'm composed. Each shot fluid and not jerky. So that would be one of the biggest things that I took from watching the pros, as well as their form and how they move and what their footwork looks like. So when you watch the pros, see yourself as you see them. And the last thing is get the heck out of your comfort zone, guys. I know people who play at the 4.0 level and have been playing there for years. And they do very well there, and they're not willing to put themselves in the challenging, uncomfortable position of where they might lose 4.5 or 5.0, where it becomes a challenge. A lot of us like to get into our comfort zone, and all of a sudden, we're great here. We're winning gold medals. We want to get better, but we don't want to embarrass ourselves with a loss. Don't worry about losing. Losing is what's going to get you to the next level. Get out of your comfort zone, go lose to some really amazing players, and watch yourself get better and better. And with that, hopefully you can put those to use and we can invite our amazing guest, actually a friend of mine who I got to know in the pickleball scene really, really quickly because he was one of the commentators I was watching the pros play to. And not only that, he's a pro player, he's an instructor, one heck of a good instructor, and an analyst. An analyst. Analysis. I wanted to say analysis because it sounds funner, doesn't it? Analysis. Scott Golden, how are you today?
I'm good, Sarah. How are you doing?
Fantastic, fantastic. I noticed that you got stuck in traffic and had to pull over to make the show. The show must go on.
Yeah, it's funny because I had this grandiose plan that I was going to get home, get set up, and sometimes life just throws you a curveball. The weather's really bad here in Boca tonight. Actually, I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's actually raining right now. I ended up just having to pull over. I jumped on the call with you, and I'm here. I'm live. I'm in person, and hopefully the rain settles down a little bit and you can hear me better. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be here with you, Sarah. I've watched your show, and I really enjoy what you do for pickleball. You bring good energy. You're always smiling, and I think you really have good advice. I was sitting there listening to you, and I was like, all right, she's bringing some real stuff that you can bite down onto. So that's fantastic.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. This game, it's just, there's something about it that makes you want to get better and better and better. It's like you don't want to stand still, you want to keep moving. Obviously, you are very aware of that feeling because you've been playing for how long now?
It's been about 7.5 years, a little over 7 years now. So yeah, I started around October of 2016.
Awesome. And do you remember when you first got in, what that was like? With this, let's hear the story, the juicy details of how Scott Golden got started in pickleball.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my story's not unlike a lot of people's journey in pickleball. For me, it started back in 2016. I was actually married for 8 years. So I got married in 2008 when I was about 23. And I lived those 8 years without knowing what pickleball was. And prior to that, I think I had played pickleball in high school, but I don't remember them calling it pickleball. I was in up in Illinois. I feel like I played some sort of pickleball with wooden paddles and a ball on the gym floor, but it was really just more for exercise. I don't even think they taught us the rules. So, that was kind of something I never even had thought about. And then years later, I got divorced in it was right at the end of 2016. So like September of 2016, my divorce finalized. And then 3 weeks after my divorce papers came in the mail, I went to the park one night. I remember it was a random Thursday night. And I was just walking. At that time, I was kind of starting over in my life. And I just wanted fresh air and I wanted to get out at the park. And so I was walking through the park and I saw these what looked like two mini tennis courts next to the adult tennis courts. So I thought, oh, how fun. It's like little kid tennis or something. I had no idea it was called pickleball. They were side by side at Herdmont Park in Oak Mountain, Alabama. And there was a guy there. He was the only person there. He had a pickleball tutor machine. He had a ball machine. And I just remember that sound of the ball hitting the paddle. And I was like, that's interesting. So the nosy person that I am, I asked him, and his name is Gene Gautreaux, by the way. Gene, if you're watching or if you watch this, I do want to give him credit for that. He's the one. I was nosy. I said, hey, what are you doing? And he said, well, come here, I'll show you. And that night, on that Thursday, 7.5 years ago, he put that paddle in my hand. And I was love at first sight, just like many of the people that I talked to about pickleball, including yourself, Sarah.
Hmm.
And I was obsessed. I think over the next 48 hours, I probably played pickleball 29 or 30 hours out of those next 48 hours. I couldn't get enough. And then I got my twin brother involved and then my family. And it wasn't long after that, March of 2017, I drove 3 hours north to Nashville, Tennessee, and I played in Don Stanley's tournament in Nashville. I don't know if you know, Don Stanley's the head of the referees for the PPA. At that time, he was not, there was no PPA. He was not doing anything other than trying to run his own, small tournaments. And that was the journey. That was the start of my 7.5 years.
I think everyone watching is like hearing your story, like, yeah, we got bit by that bug too. 48 hours, you played 20. Yeah, we did that too.
Yeah,
It,
totally. You start researching where some other places are and where you can go play. I remember some days I would go to the Lifetime Fitness in the morning. I would go eat lunch. I would find a place outdoor in the afternoon, and then that night I would eat dinner, and then I'd go find somewhere to play under the lights. And I would play three different places all 3 days, or three times in that same day, and it was quite a bit. But I was a little younger back then, so I could handle it. But now I'm 40, I can't do that.
well, you look amazing, Scott. So I wouldn't have believed that if you didn't tell me. So I know that feeling when you start. It's like time flies when you're having fun. All of a sudden, like 5 hours have gone by, right? And I gotta ask, what's kept you coming back? 7 years. This isn't just like some fad, some trend. A lot of people is like this fad will pass. What's kept you going with this sport? Why pickleball?
Well, the first thing is that I grew up playing sports. So I grew up playing baseball, football, basketball. So that was something that I always truly loved. I loved being a part of a team atmosphere, whether it was baseball or football. I liked the camaraderie. I liked the athleticism that you had to bring to the table. I liked the competition side and the team side of it. So that was something I always enjoyed. Well, when I got older, I was competing in flag football as an adult. That was what was fueling my competitive edge when I was an adult. All through my 20s, I played competitive flag football. But after had gotten married and I started working full time, I started a landscape business. I I realized, I kind of needed to get away from flag football. I was getting a little older, and I did that for about 10 years. So after my divorce, I realized flag football was something for young men. It was, and women, young men and women. And I just knew that I needed to find something that I could still do to fuel that competitive edge, but that wasn't going to beat my body up as badly. So when I found pickleball, I jumped in head first, and I knew I wanted to do this full time. And I think I always tell people pickleball, the game of pickleball, is what drew me in, but it was the people of pickleball that kept me coming back. And over the last 7 years, I've met just so many amazing people. Yes, there's always a couple bad apples here and there. You meet some grumpy people, but by far, I think the most accepting, welcoming, just loving people that I've met in my life have come through the channels of pickleball. And I have lifetime friends. I mean, I could call some of these people up right now and say, I'm coming to town tomorrow. Can you throw me up in a room, and I'll come teach you guys a couple things, and they're so willing to do that and so willing to just give. And we see that a lot in pickleball. You see people that volunteer at the tournaments, and it's a really great group of people. And I always think good people surround themselves with other good people. So when good people find pickleball, they want to bring their good friends that they know into that world as well. And I think that's one of the reasons pickleball is so addicting, because it's very social as well.
Amen to that. You know, me being me, I've experienced a lot of different things and ups and downs in this sport with different people and stuff. But the friendships that I've made, like you said, they're lifetime. And I've only been playing for 2.5 years, but the strength of the bond I've created within some of these people, new friends, and now obviously I'm dating someone because of meeting him at the U.S. Open last year. So I can definitely attest to the power of the amazing friendships and relationships you can create in it. So 100% do I agree with that. And you mentioned that it's a lot easier on the body than say football. And I mean, for the most part, I don't think there's any tackling or full contact pickleball happening for the most part. I mean, I've seen a couple highlights of people getting hit in the face with a paddle by accident, but I think that's some one-offs. But thank you for sharing that. It sounds like your story kind of kicked in at a really great time in your life that you really needed it. And I've heard a lot of stories like that. So I think what was his name that you gave a shout out to?
Oh, Gene Gaucho.
Gene. Thank you for introducing Scott to this sport, and I'm glad to call you friend as well, Scott.
Definitely. Yeah, I ran into him years later. I was visiting family back in Alabama, and actually, he asked me if I remembered him. I said, "Of course I remember you. You were the guy that got me into pickleball." So, I always love that idea of running back into the people that gave early on to my journey. And you know, this sport, it's something very special, Sarah. I don't know always how to verbalize it, but I wake up every day. I'm excited about what I do. I get to teach pickleball to new faces, and the sport over the last 3 to 4 years has really expanded and grown and just blossomed right under us. I mean, right in front of us. We've seen the growth substantially just get huge, and I always wanted that for the sport. I always thought we had a legitimate sport, but everybody used to say, "Oh, well, this is just a hobby. This is just something that people do on the side, and you'll never make money." And now I'm thinking I'm gonna make six figures this next year, and I just think teaching pickleball. And I think this is what my goal the whole time was. It was to do something that I love, and then the money is a byproduct of the love and the passion, no pun intended, the love and the passion for pickleball. And I really believe that my passion has always been there for this sport through the good and the bad, through the ups and the downs. And I can genuinely say, I joke around sometimes, but I can genuinely say there's not been one time that I wanted to quit. I've had frustrations and times that I felt, you know, that maybe I wasn't always headed in the direction I needed to be. But within pickleball, I always felt like my journey wasn't finished. And so 7 years later, I'm seeing a lot of doors open for me just from honestly, Sarah, just hard work, just grinding day in and day out, not always knowing where the next opportunity is going to come from. But I think that's just a really valuable thing that people should hear is like, don't give up on your dreams and your hopes and the things that you want if things don't go your way, right away. And I don't mind sharing this. I got into pro commentary back in January of 2020. The PPA hired me to do the commentary, and I thought that was going to be the avenue that I took full time for my career in pickleball. And after 2 years of commentating for them, they didn't renew my contract. They didn't bring me back, and that was, in my mind at the time, that was devastating. And I really didn't understand why I wasn't getting the opportunity to commentate anymore. But there's always a silver lining to those things. And looking back at that situation, I needed to take a pivot and I needed to go a different direction. And sometimes doors need to close so that other doors can open. And I look at my life as a door closes, another door is always opened. And that was no different. And so I got some great experiences, and I get people come up to me all the time and say, I was on YouTube and I heard your voice. I recognize your voice. And it makes me feel good, but I'm not doing that anymore. But it's like, I believe that that was a chapter in my life that was there for a season. And maybe I get back into it down the road. Who knows? But I just think that was such a cool opportunity for those 2 years. And it really has opened up other opportunities for me that I think has brought me to where I am today, which is traveling the country full time, teaching pickleball for Level Up, teaching for Diadem every single day. Like, it's been a blessing.
You are speaking so much truth and so much fire, not only for pickleball players, but life lessons. I mean, your voice is one thing, you sound amazing, but the truth you spit, like commenting is almost, I don't want to say beneath you, but sharing what you're sharing just from the mental, emotional connection to sport, to what you love, to passion, and turning that into something that makes you happy and successful. You're hitting such hard nails on the head right now. And I'm so grateful to have you sharing this. You've turned that passion into lots of success, and that comes with ups and downs, bumps in the road. And clearly, you've handled these bumps in the road with such grace in a way that's continued a rise. You haven't plateaued in your life in pickleball. You've continued to rise. In fact, so many people get into this sport and they think, just like me when I first started, how can I make this my life? How can I have a life where it's focused around pickleball because it brings me so much joy and I see joyful people around me, and it's just I'm surrounded by awesome connections and networks and people and laughter and fun. How can I make this full time? And that's what I'll ask you. How have you turned this into something that is now full time for you, not only with your happiness and joy, but obviously a living. It's become a living. How have you done that for yourself?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So, that year I spent in 2017, I tell people I've done a couple different interviews over the last 7 years, and I always tell people, that first year from March of 2017 when I played in Don Stanley's first tournament in Nashville, through that whole rest of the year, I probably spent over $10,000 out of my own pocket traveling the country. I was going from, Florida all the way over to Wisconsin and everywhere in between. And I was doing that because I loved pickleball. I really had no real big goals or like, I never had a really good plan. I just knew I wanted to get better. My first goal was to get to 5.0 within a year. That was my first plan, and I was able to do that. Now, I wasn't crushing it at 5.0 after a year, but I was able to play in 5.0 tournaments after 1 year. So I was really proud of the hard work that I put in to get to that level. And you were saying in your introduction about stretching yourself into uncomfortable situations. That is literally what I did for a whole 2 years. I was never satisfied. Like I would go play in a 4-5, I would play in a 4.5 tournament. I would travel 7 hours to North Carolina. I would get waxed. I mean, I would go 0-3, lose the first 2 rounds, go into the back jaw, and then I would get put out in the back jaw. And by 9:30, I was done. And I'd do it again in mixed doubles the next day, same thing. And Sunday night, I would get in my car at 8 o'clock at night and I would drive all through the night to get back home just in time to shower and go to work. And I worked in landscaping. I would work 10-hour days. And I did that for a long time. People don't realize what kind of sacrifices you have to make to get better. And I remember like I would get beat by those people and I would ask them to play pickup games with me after. So I'd spend my downtime at the tournaments trying to get on the court with people better. And over time, you start to get better and you start to see improvement. And you eventually start beating some of those people that used to beat you. And once you start beating them, Sarah, they start getting your phone number and wanting you to come play with them and wanting you to be a tournament partner. And then those things start to snowball and you get a reputation for winning. And that success mentality that I had early on, which was like, I'm just going to grind. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to be out there at every freaking tournament. I'm going to make sure that I am putting myself in front of the people that are better than me so that I can get to that level. And trust me, it was, I don't know how many times through that year I wanted to just give up, but I never gave up. It just kept going and kept going and kept going. And so 2018, I went to the US Open. I'll never forget this, Sarah. It was a year of grinding, spending my own money, and I said, like, I gotta find a sponsor because I'm not able to continue doing this out of my own pocket. I had quit my full-time job. I was traveling full time, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was planning to go to the US Open. And between all of it, to go the flight, the hotels, the registration, it was like $1,500. And I'm not gonna, sit here and sugarcoat it. It really hurt me financially. I knew in my heart I needed to go. I said, this is the biggest tournament of the year. I know something's gonna break for me. Something's gonna break through. I remember like my girlfriend, she didn't play pickleball. She didn't understand my sacrifices. But I remember she gave me like a really hard time. She was like, you don't need to go. It's gonna put you in a bad financial spot. And I said, no, I'm going. I don't care what it takes. I'm going. I went. And that week of the US Open in April of 2018, Dick's Sporting Goods, which is owned Monarch, which is owned by Dick's Sporting Goods. I was eating lunch one day by myself, and this guy named Riley came up to me and he sat down, and I had no idea who he was. He said, I am starting a brand that Dick's Sporting Goods owns, and we have kind of been out there a little bit, but we're looking to sponsor somebody that has a great social media presence, loves people, but is also an up and coming player. And he goes, I know you're not a 5-0 just yet, but he says, I see you're making moves. I've been following you for a while. And it took that. I knew that was the right, the decision to go in that moment. It all made sense. And I walked away from that conversation. He actually said, he goes, I don't know how long it'll take. It's all just new, but I promise I'm going to keep my word and I want to sponsor you. And he goes, we'll get it worked out. The details are not important, but just hang on. So that was in April. It took 4 months. It took 4 months. And it was the biggest contract to this day that I've ever seen. Like that I've ever seen. I know now that the pros now have bigger contracts, but at that time I showed some touring pros my contract and they were dumbfounded. Their jaw dropped. And they said, do they have another spot for me? And I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But my point is I sacrificed for that whole year. And I know it sounds crazy, but nobody believed that I was gonna make a career out of this. My parents thought I was nuts. I basically was leaving every weekend for that whole year traveling and but still working full time. And when that happened, it changed everything. He literally told me when I signed the contract, he said, "I want you to, I want you to go full time into this. I want you to be able to travel without worrying." And it was like 20. I think my contract covered like 20 tournaments a year, and that was such a blessing. And that opportunity was only available to me because I made the commitment to that journey, no matter what. And that the craziest part is that that girl actually broke up with me on my way home from the U.S. Open. She was packing my stuff up. I was on the way home and she packed my stuff up. And when I got back, my stuff was packed up and I moved out. And but that was the best thing that ever happened to me because that opened up so many doors moving forward. And that's I tell that story not to brag or to say anything like that, but like just letting people know, like if you believe in something, it people are watching and they will pay attention. And I remember so many people being like, "How are you always so pumped up about pickleball stuff? Like you're always just." Some people ask like, like, "Are you on crack? Because you're always just so excited for pickleball." And I was like, "No, I really love pickleball and I love people." And the truth is, Sarah, when I'm on the pickleball court, nothing else matters. Not my bills, not my personal relationships, not any stress that I'm dealing with. None of those things matter when I'm on a pickleball court. The only thing that matters is that I'm laughing, I'm smiling, I'm competing, and I'm around good people. And it's that 2 or 3 hours that I get where I don't have to think about like anything else other than that. And I've always said this, I'm the most alive when I'm on a baseball field, a football field, a pickleball court, a tennis court. I really don't care what sport it is. I love it. But pickleball is such an addicting thing for many of us, right? You can attest to it. It's an addicting sport.
I have goosebumps, Scott. Like it's taking everything for me to not like cheer for you right now. I'm like, yeah. Oh my god, I'm sure everyone who relates to you and like that drive to play all the tournaments you can and like how am I going to afford all this because it's like a bunch of tournaments, not like I'm sponsored or like anyone's paying me to do these, but you know that it's worth it if it's something that lights your soul on fire. Scott, you just inspired a ton of people. I hope you know that. I hope you know that a lot of people just went, holy moly. Your story is so impactful. And again, it's not just about pickleball, it's about your passion. You know, your passion in that story is for pickleball. And what you did to continue lighting your soul on fire, whether you had haters, people who didn't believe in you, girlfriends breaking up with you, whatever it took, it didn't matter because you were doing something, following your heart, something that lit your soul on fire. And look where you're at. Look where you're at. Like, I just want to say I'm honored So honored to have you as a guest here, but as well as a friend that I know will be a lifetime friend of mine. So thank you, Scott. Amazing.
Yeah, no, and thank you for giving me a platform to share my journey and my story because I do think giving back is important. I think giving back to the pickleball community, there might be somebody out there right now that's struggling with the same things that you and I are. And for us to be a voice where we can say, look, just hold on a little longer. Just wait one more day. Just wake up every day and say, look, what can I do to get better today? And it may not just be in the pickleball game in your life. How can you take another step forward and just try to be better? And I'm honestly, I'm humbled, I'm grateful, and I'm thankful for the opportunities that people have given me. People have believed in me even at times when I didn't believe in myself. And I knew though that my passion for pickleball was gonna be evident to somebody. And it was first it was Riley, and then it got to a point, and you know about this stuff. People will reach out and want to invest in you when they know you're serious about something. They won't invest their time or their resources until they know you are all 100% every part of your fiber in. And I was all in, and you're all in, and people know that when they don't have to question it, that's when opportunities present themselves. And I've had companies call me up and say, I don't know how we're going to work out all the details just yet, but I want you to do something with my company. I want you to commentate. I want you to represent my brand and whatever it is. And I always thought that was the coolest thing. I'm like, I loved pickleball because pickleball loved me first. And it was there for me in a time where I needed it. And now years later, it's like, I'm gonna make, I mean, literally, I'm not saying this to brag, but like, I'm gonna make the best money that I've ever made in my life. I don't have a college degree. I'm 39, turning 40, and I'm literally stepping into a new wave of just financial freedom, of doing what I love, but also being able to support a future family. I don't have a family yet, but I think it's just amazing how I've been able to just keep pushing forward no matter what.
You hear that, ladies? I don't know. Are you single?
Um, I'm not single. No, not totally. No.
Sorry, ladies. Off the table. I
Yeah,
was
I'm not.
about
I'm
to
not.
give you a huge plug there.
No, all good. I'm not married, but I'm not single either. So there you go.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, I hope that works out. She's very lucky to have you. You're extremely inspirational, and I hope you write a book. You definitely need to put some content of your story out as many times as you can. I'm so glad I got this platform for you to do so. You have so much value to give to people, and I want to keep it going. Your story is incredible. What does it take to be that champion? Because you've kind of given insight on what it takes to keep going in the face of challenge, adversity, being told no and needing help but not having it right away. So you've shown that, it takes dedication and commitment, being all in. What does it take to be the champion? Because obviously to be noticed, you've gotta have some skill. You've got to be there, got to put in the work, you got to show up and be on that podium. What does it take and what has it taken you to become a champion?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I played over 250 tournaments since I started, so I have a big resume when it comes to playing tournaments. Not all pro or 5.0, but like for the last 5-6 years, it's been 5.0 or pro stuff. And for me to get to that level, I getting up to 4.5, I honestly just relied too much on my athleticism and my sheer determination. I was very, I think I was very athletic in the beginning. I saw that I had potential, and I relied too much on that, to be honest. But once you get to a level at 5.0 and above, you can't just sit back and rely on just your own skill set. You actually have to put the work in. And what that looks like physically is what you kind of talked about in the intro of this video is you have to be willing to commit to whatever that takes to be at the level of your competition. So for me, it was like, all right, instead of just playing rec games 6 days a week, I'm going to actually spend some time off the playing court, like just me and one other person drilling. And drilling can be very vague and just like, let's hit some shots, or it can be very specific to you and your game. And the first thing that I needed to work on was my backhand dinking and my backhand drop shot. I needed to improve those things because good players would identify that, and I would get exploited in tournaments. Like they would realize my backhand was my weakness. So for me, I took about 3 months and I just stopped playing tournaments for those 3 months and I focused solely on becoming a better, well-rounded player. And so it took concentrated effort on drilling my backhand. That was the first thing. And then it was like, how many dinks can I hit in a row without messing up, right? Without breaking focus. And so, I think the most I ever hit was like maybe 300 without messing up. I'm sure the pros now could hit 2,000, but 300 is not a bad number. But yeah, it just takes that concentrated effort.
Yeah, that's 2000. You're probably right. I mean, you see how their form, and that form comes with repetition. I think I read somewhere, mastery of a skill requires, I think it's 5,000 hours, something like that, which includes a lot of dinking back and forth and back and forth. So that's definitely a big one. But, not everyone wants to go pro or wants to be the best of the best. So for the people who are watching who are maybe 3.0, 3.5, who just really want to go and kick their best friend's butt on the court, what are some of the things that they can do just from a 3.0, 3.5 level to be better players, more consistent on the court?
My best suggestion is to get you and two other friends and get together and find a really solid pickleball coach, somebody that's been around for a long time, who has a good track record, who willing to invest in you, who's willing to invest in you and really spend the time that you need to get better. You're right. It doesn't have to be 5.0 or pro to be your goal. It doesn't have to be that. It could literally be, I want to, by this time next year, I want to beat my neighbor in the community, Nancy or Joe, or I want to beat my brother or my sister or my wife or my husband. Those things are attainable for most people if you're willing to do the work. But sometimes you will plateau and you need some other eyes to focus on you and your game and to get you to that off that plateau to the next step. So my advice is you don't have to take 500 private lessons, but get you and a friend. Well, it's called a 3 and me. So you and two other friends and a pro, and that pro will play for an hour or 2 hours with you each week. For say you buy a package of 6 lessons. So for 6 weeks, that pro will play with you guys for an hour, hour and a half. And that pro should spend time evaluating your game, helping you with concepts, strategies, developing your shots, your decision making, patterns. Patterns are a big thing. You need to develop patterns. If you're a 3-0 and you're just slapping the ball around and you have no concept of strategies or patterns, you need to get with somebody who can teach you some blueprints for success. And that's what a good coach does.
Yeah, 100%. You can tell a really good coach because they actually care about the people and their progression. It's not just like a dollar sign to them, and they actually want to see you excel and care about it, which clearly you do. This I think would be a better no time better than now for you to tell the world how do they get a hold of you if they want to learn from your instruction.
Yeah, so first I would like to say I do have social media. So I have YouTube channel, Golden Boy Pickleball on YouTube. Instagram is Golden Boy Pickleball. Facebook is Golden Boy Pickleball. So all my handles are Golden Boy Pickleball. It's pretty easy to find me. If you want to find me, you can pretty much find me. I'm pretty much out there on social media. I've been out there for many years. Also, one of the biggest platforms that I've got right now is LevelUp Pickleball Camps. It's not a plug for LevelUp Pickleball Camps as much as it is for me and my journey. I've just been invited to be a head pro with them. I just completed my very first camps as a head pro this past weekend. I had the opportunity to teach 70 campers, 30 that were advanced, and then 40 intermediate players. And if there's anybody out there that was at those camps that's watching, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of my journey. But I absolutely love being able to teach people. And that is a big opportunity for me to do 50 camps all over the US. I'm going to be anywhere from Wisconsin to North Carolina, down to Florida, up to New York. I'm going to be all over the place in 2024. And so if you want to find me, go to leveluppickleball.com. You've got you can search the camps and you can see which camps I'm teaching. My name's going to be on there on the website. That would be a great opportunity to connect with me, see me in one of these cool places I'm going to be at, and learn a ton of pickleball in 2 days.
Guys, do it. If you get the opportunity to go to one of these camps, I highly recommend it. Not only because you're going to learn and be able to grow faster as a player, but just getting to know Scott is such a pleasure, and you're not going to regret it. I promise you that. So obviously, you got some players who are in the lower category, and some who are very ambitious, like you. They might just be starting and going, well, how were you able to grow so fast? Like, what do you tell ambitious players who come with that fire, that same drive and dedication, who say, they're all in? What are some of the things you like to tell the ambitious players?
Definitely, the first thing I would say is don't take no for an answer. Keep asking those better players in your local area to get in games. Put yourself out there. Be available to them. I think the first opportunity I had to get around some real 5.0s to play rec games was I kept my name out there. I kept myself out there. I kept asking, and really just more than anything, making myself available to those people. And you never know when you get that text that says, "Hey, in 30 minutes we're playing and our fourth just dropped. Can you be there?" And if I could be there, I was dropping everything and I was going. I was going to show up. And that was my opportunity to shine. I was ambitious, I was motivated, and I knew what I could do. And once you get your moment, this is what I always tell people: you don't get too many moments in life to showcase what you can do. But when you do get that moment, you better rise to that occasion and you better show those people that you're wanting to, that you're there and you're serious. And even if you don't win, if you are showing them the right stuff, if your struggle is that you like to drive the ball too much and you're not dropping and dinking enough, when you get into those games, you better be dropping and dinking and showing these guys and girls that you can hang in those points, and that you're patient and not willing to just do something silly just because you're anxious. And that was a really big growth point for me. Is was like I got around them and I was like, this is my moment. And I had some really, really good opportunities. And that's what I would say to somebody: is like, don't take no for an answer. Keep pushing. Keep getting around people that you know you want to play with. And eventually you will get the chance. But then you gotta show up.
You are just spitting fire here. I love to tell people to prepare your response for when something tries to derail you. And what you just said was to prepare your response for your greatest opportunity. Guys, take note. Scott was preparing himself for his greatest opportunity. So when it showed up, when he knew he had to showcase what he had, he knew he wasn't going to play impatiently. He knew he was going to actually showcase all the skills that he has. He mentally prepared for his greatest opportunity. God, like, I'm writing that down. That is, guys, I can't stress enough how important that is. Prepare for your greatest opportunity. That's one of the biggest tips that I love that you shared, Scott. So thank you for that. That's huge. So what are some of your favorite things while playing? I mean, there's kitchen play, there's driving, there's lobbing, there's ernies, there's ATPs. What's some of your favorite stuff to do while you're on the court?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think this answer would have been different maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But in my current state where I'm at, the biggest thing I love is overcoming that hurdle of transitioning from the baseline to the kitchen. The journey of going that 17 feet without getting crushed. And I think for me, it's like when you play really, really good players better than you, it's like a real test of your mental fortitude. It's like, can I get that ball dropped in soft enough so they can't lean out, hit that really strong roll volley and make my life hard? Am I able to get up to the kitchen over and over and over and get up there? And I always tell people when I coach, coaches want to talk about dinking all the time. You got to practice dinking. You got to practice dinking. And yes, you do. You need to practice everything, to be honest. You got to be a well-rounded player. But the things that people don't focus on, I feel like between 2.5 and maybe even 4.0 is the transition from the baseline to the kitchen. We spend all this time up at the kitchen. Sarah, if you were to go across the country any random weekday or weekend, anywhere where you show up at a pickleball court at 8 o'clock in the morning when people are warming up, they're usually at the kitchen and they're usually talking about what they ate for breakfast, how the grandkids are doing, what's Joe doing for lunch, and they're not really like doing the shots or the training that they need to prepare for the actual game they're about to play. So what I found is playing like skinny singles or putting one at the kitchen, one at the baseline, and actually warm up with the shots that you're going to see for that game. And I think right now for me, it's like when I play really good players, like if I play a 5.0 to 5.5 player, my goal is to transition flawlessly without them being able to just crush me. And I think that's where I'm at with it right now. Is like and dropping more than more than ever right now. I'm dropping the ball more than ever.
Ah, I love it. You know, that was the biggest thing that got me from 4.0 to 4.5 was putting a lot more focused energy on transition resets. So do I ever agree with that? And what that means is, you know, he mentioned putting someone at the baseline and putting someone at the net. You know, anything in between going from the baseline to the net, anything you can do there. Whether it's, you know, throwing the ball up and overheading it down at your feet or doing top spin rolls, some backspin slice from the net, anything you can do from the net to challenge that person coming in, that is so helpful. Being able to handle a topspin roll directed right at your feet, because the good players, the 5.0s and beyond, they're rolling that right at your feet. It's going to go where your feet are. Do you know how to get down there and soften that ball over the net without it being, again, too high that they can just keep punishing you? That skill, so important. You know, we're starting to run out of time, but one thing I would ask is, how do you condition yourself? You know, do you have a nutrition regimen, a strength training regimen, a cardio regimen? What are some of the things that you do to prepare yourself for a tournament?
Oh, I love it. I'll make it quick. Anybody that knows me knows that I am horrible with my diet. I have a horrible diet. I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually should be a lot more disciplined in that realm. But I would say for tournaments, I definitely try to hydrate. I try to make sure that I get good sleep the week of the tournament. And the biggest thing is I want to really put a lot of time in the week of the tournament. Not a day before, but that week leading up. I'm not going to play a lot of rec games. I'm really going to get on the court and do focused training, forehands, backhands, drops, punch volleys, roll volleys. I'm really going to work on the things that I'm going to see during the tournament. And that breeds confidence when you go into the tournament matches. So I don't spend as much time as I should on my diet or my training regimen like that. I've always been a pretty thin guy. I'm usually about a buck 50 no matter what I eat. I don't have to really worry about my weight conditioning. So I just really try to get good sleep, hydrate, and get confidence going into the week of the tournament. So that's what I do for me. Now, what I should be saying is, yes, I eat nothing but vegetables and whatever. But I love what I love, and I love good, tasty food. So
I'll make sure the editors edit this whole segment for you and say, I train and I eat all day.
I would love to say that I do, but the truth is I should do better at that. That's one of my things that I think I should work on for sure.
Well, well, we all have something we can work on. So that's awesome that you share that. And with that, do you have any final messages or thoughts for people watching around the world, streaming in 138 countries, some of which have never even played pickleball before? Any final thoughts you might have for the audience?
Oh, I got so many, but I'll keep it short. This is 2024, people. If you haven't played pickleball yet, what are you waiting for? Get out there on a court. Don't wait for somebody to invite you. Go to Dick's Sporting Goods. Go on Amazon. Go find somebody that does play and ask them to borrow a paddle and get out and play your first game of pickleball. You'll never regret it. It'll be the best thing that you ever do with your life. even if you never play at a high level or a professional level or full time, you will find yourself waking up every single day saying, where are the pickleball courts and where can I get my next fix?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, it is so true. Scott, my gosh, what an amazing episode with you. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing so vulnerably your story and inspiring all of us. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And with that, this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it.